Sound the live event klaxon. Tickets go on sale for the first PoliticsJOE lock-in this Friday, July the 4th. What is the lock-in, you might ask? We're doing a short live podcast, a short Q&A, and then a long getting down to the business of hanging out and drinking pints with our wonderful Patreon subscribers. It's going to be on August the 5th at an intimate central London location. The tickets themselves are free, but the only way to receive the ticketing link at 9 a.m. on Friday is to sign up as a paying Patreon subscriber beforehand. We're very excited about it, and we're very excited to meet those of you who have very generously agreed to give us financial support. Thank you, it means a lot. And July the 4th is PoliticsJOE's Independence Day. From this Friday, the only place you will be able to watch full episodes of the PoliticsJOE podcast is on our Patreon. If you like our journalism and want us to carry on making it, consider supporting us for £2 a week or pay annually and save 20%. And do it on desktop because Apple apply a 30% fee that they take for themselves. Head to our Patreon where you'll get first dibs on live event tickets, access to the PoliticsJOE group chat, Q&As and exclusive content. You can still listen to whole episodes for free on audio platforms. We'll still publish clips to YouTube, but the only place to watch the full podcast will be on Patreon from July the 4th. Go to patreon.com/PoliticsJOE, where exclusively for you, code POD gets 90% off your first month. That's code POD for 90% off your first month at patreon.com/PoliticsJOE. And hurry up because that discount code will expire at midnight on Thursday. It's like Cinderella. So if you want 90% off your first month, you've got to sign up before then. Love podcasts, hate nonsense. It's the PoliticsJOE podcast, ladies and gentlemen. What a week of PMQs. We are missing Ollie, but we have been made better by the presence of Marc Jennings.
Wow, that's high praise indeed.
No, very high praise. And you've met that bar and also joined, as always, by Eva Santino.
Our loss is the audience's gain.
Yes, I think
Can
that's
we say
probably
that?
true. I think so.
Fine.
I think it's good. Marc, you're a comedian, host of the Some Laugh podcast.
Correct.
Upcoming Fringe dates, which we will plug right at the end. So that's for retention.
Yeah.
And
just get in there.
Did you not just declare that?
That Marc and I are brothers.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you think we look like each other?
Both descendants of Alistair Campbell, no?
Yeah. Alistair Campbell is my dad, Mark's dad.
Yeah. Every comedian, Alistair Campbell is their dad. That's the only way you can get a Fringe show.
Yeah.
Yeah. He puts a dodgy dossier in front of the applications, and that's how they get in.
That's good. So if Alistair Campbell's not your dad, you will not have a career in comedy or journalism. Normally, I would plough through and ignore the content that we're here to discuss, but I do think we'd be remiss not to dive into this week's PMQs because it was pretty brutal. So shall we just roll clip?
Yeah.
Roll clip.
Mr. Speaker, he talks about jobs. Unemployment has risen every month since Labour took office. Has he spoken to Nissan, by the way, and looked at what's happening there? This man has forgotten that his welfare bill was there to plug a black hole created by the Chancellor. Instead, they're creating new ones. She looks... Mr. Speaker, she's pointing at me. She looks absolutely miserable. Labour MPs, yeah, she looks absolutely miserable. Labour MPs, they can point as much as they like. The fact is, Labour MPs are going on the record saying that the Chancellor is toast, and the reality is that she is a human shield for his incompetence. In January, he said that she would be in post till the next election. Will she really?
Prime Minister, she certainly won't. Mr. Speaker, I have to say I'm always cheered up when she asks me questions or responds to a statement because she always makes a complete mess of it and shows just how unserious and irrelevant they are. But she talks about the black hole. They left a £22 billion black hole in our economy and we're clearing it up. And I'm really proud, Mr. Speaker, that in the first year of a Labour government we got free school meals, breakfast clubs, childcare, got £15 billion invested in transport in the North and the Midlands. We're cutting regulation, planning and infrastructure is pounding forward, building 1.5 million homes, the biggest investment in social and affordable housing, and of course, Mr. Speaker, the 3 trade deals. Remember the ones that they couldn't get, including the US trade deal. On Monday, those tariffs came down. That secured the jobs at JLR. That's who we care about on this side of the House.
So, what a long answer. Didn't say yes. Didn't say that Rachel Reeves is staying in post. And that might explain the scenes we've seen there of her bawling during Prime Minister's questions.
Bloody emotional woman.
Hmm.
The feeling when you can't take PIP payments or you're going to plunge 150,000 people into poverty, you know?
Yes, I think that's something to remember. Is it's not just about Rachel Reeves' career and maybe the end of her chancellorship. I would like to see. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Just like how would people at risk of having these benefits cuts be feeling?
Absolutely, and I think that's the thing that often gets overlooked whenever these kind of dramatic scenes in Parliament happen, with these votes late at night and stuff. They forget what they're actually voting about, and I think it's because a lot of times, like a lot of these journalists and certainly the politicians voting on it, they're not getting affected by these issues. Do you know what I mean? And then so it's just all about the drama and the sort of, oh, is there going to be a cabinet reshuffle? It's like the transfer market in football or whatever. So it's like, oh, who's going to switch here? And yeah, it gets lost. But it's actually been talked about, which is that Labour are basically gutted that they weren't able to cut as much disability benefits, welfare stuff as they could have done.
You think about yesterday, you had two MPs also on the verge of tears in the Commons. You had Mary Tidball, she described herself as the only visibly disabled MP in the chamber who was voting against, she was going to vote for the amendment that was laid down by Rachel Maskell. And then you also had Rachel Maskell, whose voice was cracking and she did seem to be on the edge. She was laying the amendment that would have kiboshed the bill. And she was recounting a story in which her constituent had told her he'd rather not be here than face further cuts because he physically would not be able to look after his son. Now, look, I don't know if this is a competition, but if I'm going to be on the side of people who were crying yesterday in the Commons or over the last 24 hours, I'm going to be on their side, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think just in the past 14 years, we've seen, or professionally, I think every journalist has come across a story of someone facing the just harrowing loss and loss of dignity involved in the welfare system.
It is a loss of dignity.
Yeah,
it's exactly that. Yeah.
And I know Ollie and I do talk about it a lot, but the film we made about deaths of despair in Scotland, we went to meet a man who lived in Palsy Park in Glasgow who was on benefits, and he talked about just the sheer indignity of being like, can you go to the toilet by yourself? Can you do up your trousers? And
having to show them.
Oh, yeah.
At these in-person assessments, you have to show them that you can't do it.
And it's just, that's what I think lots of people who just aren't familiar with those sorts of assessments, and particularly that's the vast majority of people in the House of Commons and the vast majority of people commentating on it, is this isn't really about Rachel Reeves crying. It is about just people's lives, whether or not they're able to live their lives to a standard that we would all like and with the appropriate dignity as well.
Yeah, and it is a political decision as well, because they all go on about this this black hole in the budget and this and that, but it's like last week they're talking about buying all these fighter jets and stuff, and it says, like, today there was a line for one of the Labour guys, they're like, oh, this is going to have financial consequences because they've made these concessions, but you're like, no one's saying that when we're buying all these jets that we're never going to use or need realistically. And then, it's like, oh, we'll always just like take the wee tiny bit, off the, the people that need it most in society. It's terrible.
Well, can I put that in context as well? So the last time that there was significant changes made to the way that to welfare recipients, it was in 2013, and it was with Cameron and Osborne, and during in the middle of austerity. Not where you could argue that never ended, but besides the point. So George Osborne moved people onto this PIP system, and that was the way it was now going to be assessed. That meant that everyone who was already on PIP payments, already in receipt of some kind of welfare, would have to be reassessed on this points-based system to see what they would be eligible for. When Osborne first touted this policy, he said it was going to save the Exchequer £2 billion, and it was at a time where we all needed to tighten our belt buckles and we needed to knuckle down. It actually ended up costing the Exchequer £4 billion because of all of the reassessments. So net, £6 billion was lost from the Exchequer. Yesterday, they were talking about saving a potential $5 billion. So the last time they tried to quote unquote tinker and save money with the system, it actually cost $1 billion more than what they would have saved yesterday.
Mm-hmm. And it's also like, we can't discount sort of the human cost of austerity as well, as in like the people died as a result of austerity.
Maskell brought that up, didn't she? I can't remember, but it was tens of thousands of people, she said, had actually, there's the 130,000 people, excess deaths. Let me do it again. There's the 130,000 excess deaths as a result of austerity. I think she cited, and like, correct me if I'm wrong, I think she said 600 people had taken their own lives as a result of cuts.
We've done the context sort of big picture. Shall we do some real Kremlinology? What does this mean for
Criminology.
Kremlinology?
Kremlinology.
Yeah.
Kremlinology.
Yeah.
Like the Kremlin.
Have you never heard? Have I made that up, audience?
No, I don't know.
I've
Who
never
are
heard
asking?
the
Have you not?
Kremlinology.
Why did we? I mean,
I'm asking the one who shouldn't be named.
Mark?
What are you talking?
Can you
Kremlinology?
explain to the listeners what it means, Ed?
What I think it means is it's like to do when during the Soviet Union, you would study the interpersonal relationships of the people in power to learn about what they're doing, and I would like to do that with the government. I'm very
I
funny.
mean, it sounds all right.
If I've just made that up, I'm a genius. I'm the smartest person in the world.
It sounds good.
But that is a term.
Would you say you were more of a Lenin or a Stalin?
Me?
Yeah.
Lenin?
He's like one of the wee other guys that came
Fuck
after
off, get
Stalin,
fucked.
you know, and lasted about 4
Well, that's
days.
you. You're fucking Gorbachev, mate.
I wasn't very good looking when I was younger, so I'm definitely not Stalin.
So, Starmer and his
Stalin?
and his co-architect,
This is the death of Starmer. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, Romanov.
My God, I'm going to be prescribed for that, aren't I? Like,
Oh, no, there you go. You know, you're never playing Glastonbury again.
they're the co-architects of Starmerism as a project. The Labour MPs have forced them to just not do one of their massive political projects. The Chancellor is in tears. Where does Starmer nothing has happened yet at time of recording, but we kind of have to assume Reeves won't be in post much longer. Where do you think Starmerism goes from here? Do you think it's a big reset?
Before we do that, I think what would be more fun would be to imagine if you were in Starmer's position today, as the ultimate female lover, woman lover, respecter of women. Would you have said, "All right, halt"?
Excuse me, a woman's crying.
And none of you have offered her another seat.
Don't worry, here's some chocolate and some flowers.
Would you have stopped? Would you have pulled a handkerchief out of your your breast pocket and been like, "My fair lady"?
Kissed her lightly on the forehead, back to work. It was insane. There was a bit of question. I think there was a question about.
Slapped her on the arse.
There was a question about.
Cheer up, love. It might never happen.
There was a question about Hillsborough law later on, and I think Starmer was talking about watching football in the 80s, and just Reeves is full crying beside him, and it was just completely surreal. He's talking about watching Michael Thomas play football.
Yeah.
Maybe Hillsborough really affected her, Ed. You don't know.
I guess that could be the case, but it was completely surreal. So your co-architect of your political project has gone completely awry, askew. Where does Starmer go from here? Because if he say he makes McFadden Chancellor, are they going to plough on with this, or is it going to be like a complete reset?
McFadden as Chancellor would be an interesting choice, wouldn't it? But then I guess you could bring in you could bring in the understudy, who is Darren Jones, who's Chief Secretary of the Treasury, and he's got a much more... if Rachel Reeves was the kind of I don't know, Chairman Mao.
Right.
You know, cuts.
We're doing Beijingology now.
Yeah. Darren Jones would be more on the side of maybe Taiwan's got a point.
So Darren Jones would be like the spy on the inside to undo all.
Well, he's just a lot softer, isn't he? He does believe in lifting the 2-child benefit cap. He does believe in he's got a softer approach, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of the money that the way that he wanted to free up cash in the Exchequer was by going after sewage companies dumping in rivers, or going after people in the post office Horizon scandal. You know, he wanted to go after sort of the quote unquote bad guys in order to bolster the cash that they had. Maybe that might be a more palatable Chancellor. Maybe that's where the country is at the moment.
Yeah, maybe.
But how much is actually due to Reeves and how much is due to... I mean, it's the both of them, really. It's the same sort of policies, isn't it? So is he just going to want someone else to come in, and is it just a bit of a sort of whitewash, or...
But I don't know if they get rid of Reeves and abandon the project altogether, you've just wasted a year in government and expended all your political capital and goodwill, and you've actually not achieved anything.
But what do you do apart from that? You just...
Plug on.
Roll on and wait for reform to get elected. For 4 years.
Yeah.
Oh, it's rocking a hard place, isn't it?
Yeah, bloody Gary Stevenson in. Start taxing the wealth on that.
That's what the front page of the New Statesman, cover of the New Statesman, is just raise taxes. This week they're making a big play for...
Swear, is it really?
Yeah. It just in big red letters it says just raise taxes.
I might buy that. That'd be quite nice framed,
It
wouldn't
would be. We were talking in the office about, imagine you had an annual review, it didn't go well, you're about to get sacked, and after that, you're brought into a theatre of 600 people, many of whom consider them your enemies, and you're being told what shit job you've done. I think I'd cry.
Have you ever been sacked?
I nearly got sacked. I had to leave of my own accord because I got caught. I used to work in Asda, and when I left uni, the only extra shifts I could get were these. They called it an early bird shift. So
Right.
you'd go in at 6 when the night shift was still in and do like 4 hours. Because it was on the night shift, and no one really even knew what department I was. So I would just go. I'd swipe in and then go up the stairs and have like a wee coffee and stuff and wait for about half an hour. And eventually caught me doing this. And I just thought I was going to cop up to, all right, sorry, I'll not do it again. And they're like, no, this is gross misconduct, could lead to your dismissal, right? So I had to then, I basically then made up that I had insomnia. And I sat in the review because it was the only way I could, avoid getting sacked. And I just sat across them and they just said to me, says, Mark, we just think you've went away and thought about this and come up with it. And I says, no, it's true. And so they sent me occupational health, but by that point I was like, I just ended up leaving. I had to get another job anyway, and I was like,
So many hoops to jump through for what was just like a white lie.
so
How
ridiculous.
humiliating as well. They said to you, we think you've made this up. And you have to go, nope.
I know, it was terrible. And the worst, weirdly, the mum of one of the lassies that like I sort of used to see or something like that, like was the one in the meeting, and it was just such a
That's so
surreal.
funny.
I was like, come on, let's away with it, you know what I mean? But yeah, it was weird. So I avoided getting the sack.
One of my
That
cousins, when he was at uni,
I chose to stand down.
well done.
That's
You
what-
can't really, the thing is, you can't really fuck about when it comes to like a supermarket and stuff because they really are actually watching you.
That in call centres, like they're
Oh,
really
yeah,
on
yeah.
They are.
everything you do. Aye.
Like you're really on a productivity thing. Like at Waitrose when I was a delivery driver,
Really?
you had like a computer that was like, you had to hit the targets.
Well,
you
like
know what I mean?
Amazon
Yeah, but I mean, it was a bit more old fashioned then because they hadn't quite,
caught up.
yeah, but they had like, they had set times. So you'd print these things out, and they also have it on a computer. And it would be like, this delivery should take you between like 9:11 to 9:27. And if you didn't hit it, you had to like input Y. And like the main reason you were allowed to skip out was like if it was like an older person and the older person wanted you to like help put the milk in the fridge and stuff, you were allowed to do that.
Yeah.
So if you wanted a fag, well, there was a few old people who were getting deliveries that day. Do you know what I mean?
They're delivering to a young family.
Yeah.
Oh, the fittest, the 3 PTs doing it, and you're helping them.
Oh my God, I actually had the most embarrassing story about that. This is my mum's favourite story. So I basically, before that shift started, so I used to go in about like 6 o'clock, and then you'd go out on your deliveries at 6:30. So then I'd probably sit on like the counter, like the checkout for like half an hour or whatever until I went out on delivery. And then this man came in, and I was really young at the time. I must have been like 19, 20 or whatever. And he's like chatting away to me, and he's like, oh, that's great. And then for some weird reason, there was this weird joke. It was like, see you later. And then he was like, oh, no, I won't. And I was like, cool, see you later. Anyway, so then I go out on delivery. The first house that I am delivering to, I should have said he was just getting extra bits that the delivery he forgot to add, is his house.
Fuck that.
So he opens the front door, and I am no joke, maybe 20 minutes before this, he's just said to me, see you later. And I'm like, hi.
That's so funny. Personalized
And the
service.
first thing he says to me is, I have a wife. No. I've got your shopping today. It was so bad.
Oh, this is imagine the bit. Oh, this is on.
Yeah.
I know that man's address.
Yes.
That is so insane.
So bad.
See, before he reacted though, was there any part of you, because he's went, see you later, oh no, I won't, as if it's like he knows he's going to see you later and he'd set the whole thing up, and then when he sees you, you're like, shit.
Yeah. I hadn't actually even been able to process it that far.
Yeah.
Like, I hadn't even, it was so embarrassing that. And I'm literally wearing like that, like fucking Waitrose pinny and everything. Like, it's so embarrassing.
And also, like, he knows he's ordered it.
Yeah.
Why is he going, I have a wife?
Yeah, I know. And I had the big van behind me. The van was behind me.
I know.
Like,
I know I'm a sexual magnet. I know this. I know what's happened here. I've met this young woman at Waitrose.
maybe it was just misogyny in action. He didn't think that I could be delivering the shopping.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, it's a very weird coincidence, to be fair, as well.
women shouldn't be delivery drivers. Women shouldn't be the Chancellor of the Exchequer. That's what we've learned today.
Well, do you know what? I cried after that. So, Rachel, I'm right with you.
Shall we have another clip?
Mr. Speaker, I'll tell him what we did on welfare. Yes, they can laugh. While they're laughing, laughing, they don't know my party delivered the biggest reform of welfare in government. We got record numbers of people into work, including millions of disabled people, and we cut the deficit every year until COVID. The fact is, we're not scared of doing difficult things on this side of the house. We got people back into work. What he forgets is that since the election, since he became Prime Minister, an additional 1,000 people a day are signing on to incapacity benefits. That is 50% more than under us. 50% more than under us. And Mr. Speaker, astonishingly, because of the mess they made yesterday, because there are no more savings, sickness benefits alone are set to rise to £100 billion on his watch. He cannot reduce that now. He cannot reduce that now. I'll start again, Mr. Speaker. Yes. Start again. Sickness benefits, louder for those at the back, sickness benefits are set to rise to £100 billion because of their mess. They cannot now reduce it. They can't reduce it because after last night's humiliating U-turn, we know he cannot control his MPs. They're cheering now, but you signed the amendment. You signed the amendment. Over 100 people signed that reasoned amendment until the bill was completely gutted. He said that he would take the difficult decisions, but isn't the reality that he is too weak to get anything done?
Mr. Speaker, I'll tell them what they did to the welfare system. They broke it. And it's the same as the NHS. What did they do? They broke it. Same as the economy. What did they do? They broke it. They broke everything that they touched. And now she describes the broken system that we are trying to fix. What did she do? She voted against fixing the system that they broke. And I'll tell you, Mr. Speaker, and spell that out, they voted last night for the system that is keeping 1 million young people not learning or earning. That is a disgrace of their system. They voted for a system where we have 3 million people out of work on ill health, and they voted for that system. We're fixing it. We're clearing up the mess that they left, just like we're clearing up the NHS and the economy.
So that was, I think it was earlier than the exchange about crying. To be fair, we've kind of done it out of order. But
She's going there, though, isn't she?
yeah, no, it's quite hard to think about anything else when you're watching her cry. Badenoch kind of had a complete open goal today in terms of PMQs. Do you think she scored?
Do you think she
Do you think it was back of the net?
No, I think that's a good example, that clip of her getting a bit overexcited. It's like, let's hear it with the hands. And she's going, oh, louder for those at the back. Like, see when they get a wee bit too confident, they get a bit too up by the crowd.
Yeah.
You're just like, oh, it's just cringe more than anything, isn't it?
Yeah.
I love her asking repeatedly, why are they laughing?
Why are you laughing?
Yeah, because it's like there's a part of that which is sort of like, maybe it's like I don't know, call and receive, like maybe it's like a stage exercise, like she's doing a bit of theatre. But on the other side, I'm like, is she actually asking? Like, because she doesn't understand social situations. She's like, why are they laughing?
Chris, why are they laughing?
Yeah.
You never want to ask why they laugh.
Yeah.
I had an experience one time. I done a comedy store in London one time, right? And to the side of the crowd, there was like 5 girls from like California, and most of the rest of the crowd were sort of facing them. And I came on stage, I started speaking, and before I'd said a joke, the whole crowd started laughing. And I'm like, and you're kind of going, what is going on? And like, I'm like, is my fly down? Is something happening behind me? And I realised they were all staring at these California girls who had absolutely no clue what I was saying. And they're just looking at each other like totally puzzled. And I had my whole 5 minutes, I couldn't get through a joke because I just had to like deal with it. And then I was like, do you not understand? And they didn't understand that. And it was a whole thing. It was crazy.
That's amazing. That's like some real, like some good old fashioned slapstick comedy. like, oh,
Definitely
you don't
vaudeville.
understand me.
I didn't know that was in your repertoire, Mark.
Well, there you go. I'm multifaceted.
When
You
I
lot do actually have a hard time.
when I
the West
when I was
Coast
in
especially.
when I was in North Carolina,
Yeah, nobody speaks like this guy.
nobody does. Nobody does. No, it's affectation. I know. I did your podcast last year. Some podcast.
Just
podcast.
before the election.
Yeah. Oh, just before I interviewed John Swinney, the day before. But anyway, my sister replied text me saying, "I've never heard you say 'I' so much." And I was like, "That's absolutely mortifying."
Were you really going
I think it was
in
code
there?
switching. I think it was code switching to being around Scottish people.
Code switching, that's so great.
That's what we do need to do that, kind of.
Yeah.
But Americans, that they, when I when I was in Chicago for that year, most people thought I was Australian.
Yeah. Someone asked me where I learned to speak English so well.
Stop
Which is
it.
great.
What did they think you were?
I don't know.
And did you reply Hutchinson
Is it
Grammar
Hutchinson
School? Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yep, naming the school now. Good thing our audience doesn't know what that means. Anyway, that's for our one listener in Glasgow.
That's like our would you call it Eton, isn't it?
There was a painful article once in the Times because Hamza Yusuf went to that school.
So did Sturgeon. I think.
No, she didn't.
Did she not?
Sturgeon didn't. Sturgeon was the constituency MSP for that school, but she's from like Ayrshire.
All right.
Anna Sarwar went to that school though. But someone went like, "What is Hutchins Grammar School, the Eton of Scotland?" And there was some comment in the Times being like, "I actually think the people of Glasgow Academy would really object to that." That is fucked.
You can cut this out if it's not appropriate. But someone went to school with the person that radicalized mother of two Shamima Begum, right?
Someone I know. No, you've misremembered. We were talking about Shamima Begum recently, and we were talking
Mother
about.
of two.
Oh, sorry. No, that is. There's Craigholme School.
No.
It was like a private girls' school in Glasgow, and it's the girl who recruited Shamima Begum and the other girls from Bethnal Green went to this private girls' school in Glasgow.
See, why can't we get some good working class terrorists?
Yeah.
That's what I want. You know, it's bad when you even hear of Bin Laden and all that was going to these posh schools. You're like, come on, it's like grassroots. Say what you like about the IRA, but at least they were all working class.
Say what you like about IRA. Can't anymore. Prescribed.
It's real, gentrification or something, isn't it? Yeah.
It is funny.
Rah, where's my backy? But it's like in
Up the Rah.
Syria, terror camp, yeah.
It is funny when you hear Kemi Badenoch talk about the Conservatives' record in government, about anything, to be honest. That question, she could have been asking about Brexit, agriculture, international relations, literally anything. And the Labour government going, what the fuck are you talking about? The Labour benches. And they're actually quite right to, each time.
Yeah.
Like the point about Labour are doing a U-turn and abandoning, and they're like, Labour doing a U-turn and leaving the welfare system in like total disrepair and with this billions of pounds black hole. They're not putting that in. That's already there. It's back to the status quo. And who made that the case? It was the Conservatives. So like kind of attacking them for leaving it as is isn't necessarily the win that the Conservatives were hoping it to be.
Aye.
The whole thing is a total farce, right? Because it was essentially what has happened was there was Rachel Reeves' fiscal headroom was wiped out, right? She had around £9.9 billion, but that's been sort of attacked and picked apart by the introduction of US tariffs and various other global headwinds. I think is the phrase.
Absolutely.
She needed to find $5 billion to make her spending review viable, and she went straight for the people she thought didn't have a voice. She must have looked at all the PIP receipts or whatever and been like, oh yeah, £5 billion, we can take that back from the people who can't talk, and then so we'll have no problem.
Jesus.
Physically.
Yeah, no, it's bleak.
It's incredibly bleak. But the Conservative line is really confused because even last week when the bill was first, it was, we were expecting the second reading, or Angela Rayner, I think at PMQs last week, confirmed it was going to be this Tuesday. The retort from Conservatives was, well, we might not vote for it because it's not harsh enough of a crackdown.
Yep.
I mean, why do they feel like they need to keep piping up all the time?
I guess they are the opposition.
I tell you who's clever in this. You haven't heard from Nigel Farage or the Reform Party, because they know when your enemy is making a mistake, you just let them do it.
Yeah.
Are they split on it as well? Like, do they have different views? I heard someone say that on.
Well, yeah, they'd want to protect a lot of their, and particularly if you look at the 10 most deprived areas in the UK, particularly some of these, actually, even more if you break it down to seaside towns, Reform came second in these areas.
Yeah.
And this is where you see a big proportion of people receiving welfare payments. But they also hate immigrants who are allegedly taking the welfare payments. Yeah. So they're walking this tightrope that is just totally impossible to balance. So that is another reason why they might not have said anything.
Totally.
Well, while we're on Reform, did we see today who Reform have appointed to be their new spokesperson for, I think, welfare?
The former Tory MP.
Former Tory MP who was suspended for saying the N-word.
No. Was that why she's out?
She was suspended in 2017 for about 5 months.
You're joking.
Because she was in a parliamentary select committee and was asked a question, and she responded saying, "Well, that's the N-word in the woodpile."
You're joking.
No. And now she's like a spokesperson for the Reform Party.
What?
Well, who better to do it, to be fair? I mean, that's, if they really want to get their message out there.
Is that not absolutely insane?
Can you imagine what that was like when she went back to her advisors after that select committee?
Well,
She was
well.
like, yeah, and then why can't you say that? It's a phrase. Like,
Imagine being like, how readily do you have to be prepared to drop the N-word for that to even be in your repertoire of phrases?
Funny that, isn't it?
Like, yeah. It is like, it's so astonishing. Or to not have that even like media trained out of you.
How long do you think we've got until we have a genuine public discourse around we should be allowed to say the N-word?
Oh, weeks. I think that is like, I think that is one Matt Goodwin column.
You think?
Oh my God, 100%. Like, we're having like only white people can be English discourse at the moment.
Is that still going on?
Yes, I think because Goodwin was on The Spectator and people were just, and they were asking about it. And it was the same thing, like, remember when Fraser Nelson did trigonometry and was trying to explain that, like, I don't know if non-white people can be English.
Yeah.
And they're like, what? And they just had the exact same conversation, but it was Gove and Goodwin. And
It's
it was
amazing. I love that psychic on trigonometry so much. It's like one of my favourite internet characters.
doesn't speak.
Yeah.
Oh, it is. Would you do trigonometry, Mark?
No.
Some math in many ways is the Scottish trigonometry.
We are the Scottish trigonometry. Yeah. We ask the tough, hard-hitting questions that no one else can. And we're just waiting for that Rogan invite, we go and smoke weed with him. But
You should try
You
only.
think Rogan would know what you're saying?
probably not. But I guess I could slow down for him or something.
Do
But
it. Do an AI
change.
translation.
Don't do that.
I feel like you could convince him quite easily round to your way of thinking, though, like because he's softballs everybody, doesn't he? So see if you just sort of said all this kind of stuff. I mean, he just had Bernie Sanders on again, so I think you could easily persuade him to vote for, like, I don't know, Scottish independence or something.
Did you watch the Andrew Tate Bonnie Blue interview?
No.
Did you?
Why am I like the only person who's watched it? I've been dying to discuss this with people, and no one is.
I think of
She didn't put it on her OnlyFans.
No.
You know she makes other songs.
Yeah.
I'm like, when are they going to stop talking? This preamble's going on quite long, actually.
Isn't what I pay for.
I just thought it was. Well, there's no point in talking
No,
about
tell
it.
us.
No.
please.
Tell you what, if anyone's watched it, I'll talk about it with you on the Patreon.
Do you,
later,
can
if you
can I make a prediction? I think Bonnie Blue will at some point join the Reform Party. I
Yeah.
genuinely, she might be Chancellor of the Exchequer.
Yeah.
I think
she's
she
got
will.
a hell of a lot of money.
And
Yeah,
she's good at
that's it.
dealing with big numbers.
That's it. She just holds that big red box. But what she's got inside it, I don't know. Anyway,
I think we know what's inside it. We briefly touched on Scotland there.
Yeah,
Should we
she
touch on
wouldn't
it
cry
again?
after getting fucked like Rachel today, would she?
More like Lily Phillips. I think Rachel was today.
Yeah.
Bleak, isn't it? Not proud of that.
I don't know if that works.
I don't know. We might keep that in. Shall we have the final clip?
Stephen Flynn.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In his victory speech last year, the Prime Minister promised to end the chaos. Does he think that the public still believe him?
Prime Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, we've delivered more in the first year of a Labour government than they've delivered in 20 years. Let me give him one example. We had waiting lists. We said we'd do 2 million extra appointments. We've done 4 million for the NHS in England. What a contrast, Mr. Speaker, where they've been in charge for that 20 years. Scotland's doctors now saying, in the past week, I think, and this is their quote, that the Scottish NHS is, their quote, dying before our very eyes. They should be ashamed. Their own public health minister is admitting that the SNP failure is costing lives. Scotland need new direction so it can bring waiting lists down in Scotland, just like we've done in England.
Did anyone listen to the substance of that? Sorry.
So, I mean, Stephen Flynn, they're asking if he's ended all the chaos while Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, is crying behind him.
He just goes, asked and answered.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. That was a good question. Do you remember when during Crime Week, it was after
Crown or Pride?
Crime?
I could totally forgotten about Crime Week.
See how I feel living here in this country, Mark.
yeah.
It's bleak. It's good to have this alliance. Anyway, I can't remember who it was. It was a Labour backbencher it was during Crime Week, asked Boris Johnson, after all, like, the police investigation stuff, like, how's Crime Week going, Prime Minister? That was very good. I thought that was good from Flynn. Just a good bit of parliamentary banter.
That's
Yeah.
good. Do you know what I like as well about PMQs is see when it's like a really serious day and then midway through somebody brings up something ridiculous. It's like, my constituency is famous for its ice cream. Would the
Yeah.
Prime Minister like to come to my constituency and have a cone with me?
Yeah.
I'm looking for mates. You know so when I met Swinney just before the Hamilton by-election, literally the day before, he met us for our interview. Interview was maybe 15 minutes. I was like, but we're just kind of chatting beforehand, and I said, "Oh, what have you done today?" And he said, "Well, I came straight from the shortbread factory." Da-da-da. And then
That's like a parody of what you think the Scottish First Minister is doing.
Yeah.
also, they lost that by-election. Maybe if he hadn't been at the shortbread factory,
Yeah, maybe if you'd gone to like the tartan factory or something like that.
he
instead,
said-
yeah.
he'd sat and chatted to Laura and I for like an hour afterwards. And we're like, why are you not out campaigning? Like, I was quite surprised that was a priority.
I can't remember what the results were. Was it a slim victory or did Labour?
Labour won.
No, I know, but did they smash it or did they like? How did they do?
A couple hundred in it, was
Yeah,
it
I think
not?
so.
Was that it? Was only a
Yeah, yeah.
couple
Well,
hundred?
there's not that many votes in general, was there?
No,
Was it small?
turnout was really low, and Reform did.
I thought that was-
came third, but a good third.
It was a good third, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah. It was.
There was a moment before where I was, have you seen the polling for Liverpool?
No.
No.
It would be Liverpool. It's the bloke. It's not
Ian
Kim
Byrne.
Johnson's constituency. It's not Ian Byrne. It's the other one.
Dan Carden
Yes.
Yeah.
His constituency. Reform polling to win.
in Liverpool.
Yeah.
Bloody hell! I thought they weren't English.
Huh?
I thought they weren't English.
Yeah.
English people can only be white and not Liverpudlian. What did we?
All Liverpool fans, of course, that lot probably.
Yes, probably
That'll be the split.
Liverpool fans versus Evertonians.
Yeah, the Evertonians are voting for Labour still, I
I
imagine.
think so.
Yeah.
The goodies.
They have conscience in that, don't they?
Just calling out all Liverpool fans for not having a conscience.
Do you know what I always find really funny about Liverpool is that they have to paint the bins purple because of the...
That's
Because of the rivalry.
Yeah.
I think it's quite a sweet thing to do.
Do you think?
I don't think you could do that in Glasgow.
Well, it was like in Larkhall where you were and they have to paint the subway sign black because they can't have a green one.
Really?
Ah, yeah.
You're
So
joking.
good. No, it's so good. And if the people have been like stoning like the traffic lights and stuff.
Yeah, they had to put barriers up to stop the green lights getting smashed.
No, you're joking. Stop it.
No, this is true in
It's so
Larkhall.
funny. No, it is genuinely true.
I feel like you're doing me over.
No, it's honestly
In like
look
all
up.
the reporting around that by-election, it was just like anecdotes like that around Larkhall. Yeah,
That's
Swear it's
mental.
absolutely insane. It's honestly, people don't get it.
No, I mean it's pretty intense,
Yeah.
there, isn't it?
Do you think it was interesting there? Flynn asking about chaos in the UK government, and then Starmer just reeling off, some SNP government failures in Scotland. Do you think my kind of perception of it is, to an English audience, the SNP get away with quite a lot because they're not across the details of what's happening in Scottish politics? Do you think it's a fair assessment?
Do you know? Well, I think that a lot there's not as much scrutiny on. I mean, I pay attention to politics. I don't know. I have no idea really, like what the Scottish government have done versus that. And obviously, they often blame Westminster for stuff that they've not been able to do. And I mean, the buck gets passed around. Like you see it in PMQs today. Everybody's basically going, "It wasn't me," or going, "Oh well, that's because of you." Because every time a new government come in, they go, "Well, we were left this mess by the last people. Well, we were left that mess by you, and then it was you. You started it, all this sort of stuff." And obviously, that happens with Holyrood and Westminster as well, where they'll go, "Well, in Scotland, it's this, that, and the other," and SNP just come back and go, "Well, it's because Westminster don't give us control over that." And for most regular people, I think it's really difficult to know where the responsibility lies for a lot of the problems. And I tend to think that in Scotland we're quite lucky because we've got we've got a say over certain stuff. So we've still got you get free prescriptions and free uni and all that type of thing. That's that you don't get obviously in England, and you do sometimes you go to the north of England as well. You sort of feel like it's been neglected in a way that some of Scotland hasn't, because again we've got a government that do care about the country and are looking after it. So it's hard to say, do you know what I mean? But with stuff like the drug deaths and all these type of things that get brought up at the time, I couldn't tell you who is responsible for that, and I think a lot of people are the same.
Yeah.
So it just comes down to sort of your preference, I
But do
suppose.
you think that the MPs are a real different kettle of fish from the MSPs? Like, I feel like the closest alignment that you had between like a leader and a Westminster leader and a First Minister was almost when it was Hamza Yousaf, because they were quite aligned, Stephen Flynn and Hamza. Do you know what I mean? They had like a kind of symbiotism on they were in the same place when it came to Gaza, that sort of thing. But when it was Sturgeon before that, and you had Blackford down here, they were so disconnected, you know. They might as well have. I mean, you wonder how often they were actually speaking.
Yeah, I think in this instance with Swinney and Flynn, I think it's fair to say Flynn's quite an ambitious character. So he's looking to go to Holyrood next year, and Swinney isn't in the best position now, having not done as well in Hamilton.
He's a bit of a caretaker as well, isn't he?
Yeah,
Swinney?
yeah, because that's what this chat was when he came in, and then that chat was gotten rid of immediately before the Hamilton by-election, and now it's back to Swinney's on his last legs. It's just interesting because they do serve different functions entirely. I guess like the SNP MPs are there to oppose, but it's hard to oppose when you've been in government since 2007. Like it's just, and you do have to carry the can for that. Like it's just interesting how devolution has just made all of this stuff so much more complicated to talk about. Like if you look at Wales, like they've had nothing but Labour government since devolution.
Well, that's likely to
to
change, isn't
it
it? Is
is.
that what you're saying?
Yeah, it is. And it'd be very hard for like Welsh Labour or the Labour Party to go to Wales for a UK elections. They vote us for change.
Yeah. You wonder as well, don't you, with the... Oh, there were 5 actually Labour Scottish MPs who voted against the welfare bill yesterday, which was very interesting. But you think about, what do SNP MPs, what is their impact? Because their remit when they're down in Parliament would arguably to have Scottish interests on the table down in London, right? Now, if you look at the track record of what has happened over the last few years, I wouldn't say it's necessarily gone in a way that the SNP would be favourable toward, right? So we've had Brexit.
Yeah.
You know, we've signed closer alliances more recently with the US, which I would argue possibly the SNP would rally against. I wonder if you lot are going to turf Trump out with his golf courses.
No.
That would be a really great way to humiliate Starmer.
But they're big employers in the areas.
Are they?
Yeah, they're all like resorts. So like Turnberry
are
is,
they?
yeah, it's like people work there and stuff. I think it'd just be like baby out with bathwater.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
It is crazy, right? Because see what Trump's done. Because just a few years before Trump ran for election, basically it was always like the kind of last silly news story on the Scottish news where he was arguing with some like Aberdeenshire guy who had his garden next to the golf course, and that was it. Like that, it was just like a daft wee thing at the end, and now he's like the most scary thing on world
Really?
Yeah,
news.
it's very much the first headline. Yeah, it was always like objecting with like some wee guy in Aberdeenshire.
I
would
love
move.
those select committees he did in Holyrood where he's like talking about the wind turbines.
He's obsessed with wind turbines.
Yeah?
Yeah.
In fact, he spoke about that when he went on Joe Rogan.
Did he?
I'm like, oh my God, this is great. He's like, they don't look good, you know. Like, he just hates them. He's got an obsession.
And
with
he's like worried about the birds and stuff like that as well.
yeah, but it's just so his golf courses look nicer.
Why does he love Scotland so much?
Your
Mum's
mum
Scottish.
from there.
His mum is.
Mary
Mum from
McLeod.
Lewis?
Yeah, Lewis.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. She's got a big affinity to Scotland.
Wow.
Mm.
Yeah,
Um,
because okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Do you like his golf courses?
I have never played golf on one of his golf courses.
The most I've ever seen of his golf courses is when like Janie Godley would
Ah,
go
Oh
down
yeah,
and-
Trump.
Yeah.
Well, I drove by Turnberry the other week when I was going to Ireland by ferry, and you drive right by it, and it's just great. But then you see people that go there quite a lot, and you're going, stop giving them money. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
it's not as if there's not other nice golf courses in Scotland as well.
exactly.
Is there not?
No, I'm joking. As in Scotland's like the home of golf.
No, I'm saying sorry. I meant to agree. Is there other nice golf
Yes.
courses? Is that like a big thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait, what's that place? Glen Eagles. Loads of
Glen
posh
Eagles,
people
yeah.
go there. Don't
That's
they?
owned
Andrews.
by Joe Biden as well.
That's
Oh,
no, you're joking.
You got me as well.
What?
You got me as well.
I will top myself.
Mark, thank you so much for coming on. That was so much fun.
Oh, thanks for having
Would you like to do a big plug for your Fringe show or any other thing you'd like to plug?
Yes, I'm doing Edinburgh Fringe every night at 7:50 at Monkey Barrel Comedy. The show's called Bread and Circuses because it's after that quote, give them bread and circuses and they'll never revolt. Although I did learn later that was also the name of a mixed reviewed album by the Dundee band The View. So there we go.
Wow.
Hopefully be better than that.
Yes.
It'll be five stars from us.
Will
5 stars
you
from
cancel
PoliticsJOE
one of
audience.
your shows if Rachel Reeves is sacked today? I just think that would be respectable to do.
I'd cancel one of my shows in August.
Yeah,
For
in
that?
honour. Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
that's
but-
what, I'm giving up a day's salary if that's
Right,
Yeah.
in honour of it, I'll take off the 12, which I'm already doing to go and see Oasis. But,
Nice.
That's good. Yeah, we're doing that thing where I give up my salary because that's what women would earn. You know that point in the year where like men earn the amount that women earns in a full year.
And
Right.
you're donating it to what?
Rachel Reeves's pension. I don't know,
Yeah.
something like that.
Employment fund, isn't he?
Thank you, everybody, for listening. Join us on the subreddit or join us on the Patreon, where if you input the code POD, you'll get 9% off your first month. Make sure to do it on desktop so Apple don't take any extra money on top of it. Yeah, we'll see you there. We've got a live show coming up on the
Live
6th of
show
August.
coming up. The only way that you can come to that live show is if you are a Patreon subscriber.
Absolutely. And the group chat's popping off there. It'll be the only place where you can get to the video podcast. The audio podcast will still be on audio platforms. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
thanks for having me.
Cool. See ya.
Bye-bye, everybody.
July 4th is PoliticsJOE's Independence Day. So after then, you'll only be able to watch our full episodes on our Patreon behind the paywall, but you will still be able to listen to full episodes on all audio platforms. If you like our journalism and you'd like to continue supporting us, then you can do that now using code POD for 90% off your first month. After that, it's going to be £2 a week, and you'll have access to our live shows. The first one is going to be this August on Tuesday the 5th. The only way that you'll be able to access that live event will be subscribing to the Patreon. So hopefully you do.